Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and our next guests are doctors. We have an interventional cardiologist and internist, and they are here to highlight the health benefits of their latest co-developed product, Master Vitamins. Say it again, Master Vitamins. You ought to keep that in your mind, Master Vitamins. It's a good one to pick up. I'll tell you why in a little bit. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Mark East and Dr. Lambert Parker. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good morning.
And Dr. Lambert Parker, I forgot to mention that you're an internist and president of the Integrative Medical Practice, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So how did you guys come together? What was the thought behind this whole thing? Because behind every great thing, there's a thought process and some gathering of information and the finding out that there's a need to create an awareness that the people need this particular supplement.
So first, again, thank you, Dr. Bob Lee, and Stephen and your team there at Bronx TV. It's really an honor for you to have us. And I'm also honored to have as our guest, Dr. Parker, someone I highly esteem and respect. And it's equally an honor for us to be able to speak to New York as well as the rest of the country about this important topic. But I'm Dr. Mark East. I'm an interventional cardiologist. My background is that of a clinician as well as a clinical scientist. I trained at Duke Medical Center and spent 8 years there, both clinically and also focusing on clinical research. Yeah. But what really brought us to this point was really a long-standing relationship with Dr. Parker, knowing his background, knowing his expertise. And when the pandemic hit, there were very few resources therapeutically. And we learned during this time frame that many of us treating physicians were not prepared. We were told to start taking C, D, zinc, and there were worldwide shortages. You couldn't get it to people. And it forced us to investigate outside of the traditional norms. And I simply made a call to Dr. Parker and said, hey, tell me more about this. These are desperate times. We need to know, is there validity? And his resounding response was, yes. The individuals that developed the protocols for us in our local healthcare center here, which is one of the top 50 in the country, that individual was promoting 5 different supplements for us to take. Dr. Parker, without knowing what was on that list, listed 4 of the 5. So I knew that there was something here that was important, and we knew each other. I have respected him for years, and it didn't take much for us to jump in, because the same people that we saw that were dying, the same people that were at risk, were the ones that were sitting across from me in these rooms.
Dr. Parker, what's in it that helps people, in their everyday life?
Well, like what Dr. E said, the pandemic really changed the paradigm of our thinking. All of a sudden, the huge mainstream machinery, which is exceptional, obviously, in this particular case, was not able to help us, which was really a big disappointment, and we were all thrown into chaos. This is where we knew some of the basic things which came out very early on, that vitamin D deficiency played a big part. There was a higher mortality among patients with low vitamin D, which hit a lot of the darker skinned people. And so that was an easy one we identified. But then when that happened, I was talking with Dr. East, and at that time he wanted vitamin D. He was having a hard time getting them. And we had some stock in the office, so we shared it with him for his church. That's how he started out. He was worried about the colored people in his church who are having vitamin D deficiency. And the easiest thing was just check the levels. And when you check the levels, you found a lot of the people in the 20s, but the norm should be around 35 to 100, or some labs is 35 to 150. And 20s are really pretty bad. And when you look at vitamin D, it plays a part in so many things, everything from your immunity to DNA synthesis, to anti-cancer, cell division, cell growth, all these things. But the scary part is most of us in, I would say, mainstream or allopathic medicine very rarely even check the levels. And here was a pandemic where a simple thing, vitamin D, wouldn't solve the problem. But we did know that people with low vitamin D suffered and died from the pandemic, from COVID-19. So that's how we started. And then Dr. East wanted to know what all we should give his patients who can afford all the a lot of the pills are very expensive. And there were too many pills to take, especially the older generation. And the data shows that people over the age of 65, or over 90% of them die from COVID. It's not all age groups. So those were the groups that are hardest hit with money able to access it. And so we started with vitamin D. Then with the vitamin D, we decided what else do older people have? Older people who are at risk also have problem absorbing vitamins. And one of the bigger deficiencies we see is B12. And
B12.
B12. And B12 is needed for DNA synthesis, for energy metabolism, from hormonal metabolism, for brain function. And as we get older, all our brains slow down. And a simple thing like B12 deficiency is so easy to take care of. So we added the B12. So what we really did was we looked at the lab database in my patients over 30 years. What are the common deficiencies we see? Not the abnormal, not the zebras, but the horses. And so we took that. And then the last one is, I think, with the folate. Folate is called vitamin B9, which is responsible for DNA synthesis, cell growth and repair, and in cardiac functions, something called removing garbage from your body, which is homocysteine, which builds up. When the homocysteine builds up high, it causes heart problems, all kinds of heart problems, dementia. I think of it as homocysteine as anything you eat, you produce a garbage, which looks like a razor blade. So when it goes to the circulation, it cuts into the vessels. So we want to get that down. Usually it should be below 10 or 15, depending upon your labs. Some people have 27. So folate was another thing. So we put all these, what we thought was essential. It's not the only ones, obviously. There's a lot of things we need. But what's the most common denominator, which was missing in the population? And we decided to put together. And really, I just advised him on this. The rest was all Dr. East and his group did all the lion's share of work of actually making it happen.
Yeah, because you mentioned how can older people absorb this? Because you got the water soluble and the fat soluble vitamins mixing in together, and then you have something in it that will flush the body, flush some of the toxins out of the body. I think that's a great product. That you got it working together at a time of need too.
Right.
So this is during the pandemic and beyond.
Right. The one other thing we added to it was lipoic acid, alpha lipoic acid, which is a very powerful antioxidant. And we see so much oxidative stress on our body. So we decided we'd add that to it. And also, alpha lipoic acid is kind of like a magic molecule. It regenerates, like vitamin C. When you take it, when you have a lot of oxidative stress, the vitamin C, which is an antioxidant, becomes pro-oxidant. So what happens is alpha-lipoic acid actually regenerates it. So it keeps the vitamin C in the body longer period of time. It also helps create glutathione, which is a very powerful ubiquitous antioxidant in the body. So you have a lot of other things. So by putting all these things together, we thought we would get one pill which is cheap and doesn't do everything. It is not a magic pill, but it at least takes care of some essential missing ingredients which we need in life to fight off the pandemic and to have a better lifestyle.
Dr. East, my daughter told me that there were these fantastic doctors that I should interview on radio and TV, and I need to know more about them. So she introduced me to you guys, and I'm glad you guys came because you're a wealth of information. What should people do as far as getting their health together? You have the multiple vitamins, but what should they do to get themselves together? Should they work out? Should they drink water? Should they exercise every day?
I think especially the older population, sleep is very important. Sleep hygiene. Not watching TV before you go into bed, not eating stuff before you go to bed, maybe going for a walk or doing some stretches. And I'll turn it over to Dr. East. He can add more what's good for your cardiac functions.
Doctor, tell us about what's good for that, and where can people go to get more information on this wonderful vitamin and master vitamins?
Well, absolutely. Again, my goal is to make sure that people understand the importance of this. We went into the pandemic unaware and unprepared, both as physicians and our patients.
Very true.
But we don't have to come out that way. You know, we encourage people, be proactive, get in the know, and that's part of this, is making people aware and take action. We have a product. It's not the only product. It's not going to treat, cure, prevent, but it's to help your body get what it needs to do what it needs to do. And that's the phytoviruses and bacteria that we're exposed to every day. Now, in terms of where to get it, go directly to mastervitamins.com. Our fulfillment center is very responsive. They'll get it right out to you. Take advantage of some of the promotional opportunities that are there. We want to get this into as many hands as possible to get people as prepared as possible. And lastly, as we said before, this to me is so important. The statistics bear witness of it. 40% of all Americans, as Dr. Parker was talking about, are D deficient. And that's just one of them. 70% of Latino Americans and 80% of African Americans. So that's double. If you look at those who've been affected the most, Blacks have about a double the risk of death from COVID-19. Those are the statistics. And as a statistics guy, you know, I think it's important that we embrace all of these modalities to help as many people as we can.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. It's a wealth of information. You guys got to come back again. You know, you're always welcome to come back here and just let us know what's going on. And I got to pick up some of those multiple vitamins because I'm into it. You got me into it now. So we go to mastervitamins.com, right?
That's right.
Mastervitamins.com. Thank you guys so much. Dr. Mark East, MD, Interventional Cardiologist and President of East Cardiovascular Specialist, and Dr. Lambert Parker, MD, Internist, President of the Integrative Medical Practice. And I see you have the Integrative Longevity Institute also. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We love you. And God bless you. And tell Shakira I said hello and give her a big virtual hug for me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, man.
All right. All right. Coming up next, stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. We've got a whole lot more coming up next on Open.